Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. Let's just jump into it. Finally, Jaron Boots Ennis is getting back in the ring, and he has a real fight in front of him. It's not Virgil Ortiz, who I think is a bigger name, and probably would have given Boots even more credibility as a dominant force at 154 pounds. But you can't knock it. The fact that he's looks like be fighting Xander Zayas on June 6th in New York City for the WBA and WBO strap. Now, let's just say this, right? Everybody's been frustrated when it comes to Jaron Boots Ennis' career. I don't know if I want to say it's his fault. You know what I'm saying? Because when you look at Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hearn's all about protecting his investment. He's going to protect his investment. It is what it is. But I just think for Jaron and Zayas, this is going to be one of those moments in boxing where perception, pressure, and opportunity all collide at the same time. For a while now, man, fans have been growing increasingly frustrated with how Jaron in his career has been handled under Eddie Hearn. The Wisma Lima fight, look, okay, did he destroy Lima? Yes. But did he kind of destroy his momentum? Yes. Nobody really wanted to see that. And he could have fought Ortiz then. Now look what happened. But at the end of the day, him destroying Lima the way he did, because he tranquilized him, that did put a bit more buzz around Ennis. A positive buzz and a negative buzz, but I guess buzz is buzz, right? But I'll tell you this. Although people have been a little frustrated with Ennis and how Eddie Hearn handled his career, that has nothing to do with Ennis lacking talent. I want to make that crystal clear. Ennis passes the eye test, but this is the real test that we've been waiting for. Even though I think Ortiz would have been a more stiffer challenge, you can't sit here and knock Xander Zayas Puerto Rican. He can scrap. And he has a great opportunity here too. He beats Ennis. Xander Zayas is, forget Puerto Rico. That man the king of all 7 continents. You know what I'm saying? But you got to just try to understand it from my perspective. When you got a fighter of his caliber, I'm talking about Ennis, should have already been in multiple high-profile, legacy-defining fights by now, instead of what fans have been kind of observing as a slower build, less activity than expected, and opponents that didn't fully match the hype surrounding a fighter many consider to be a future pound-for-pound star. Now, I'll be honest with you. I think Ennis should be fighting 3 times a year. I think if you allowed him, he'd fight 6. But it just doesn't work that way when you're at his level. But that's neither here nor there. Just understand, when you have a pound-for-pound star like that who wants to fight, people want to see him fight. And that frustration has created a narrative around Ennis that isn't entirely fair. But it's real. You know what I'm saying? In boxing, perception becomes reality very quickly. When fans don't see you in big fights, they start questioning whether those fights are being avoided, delayed, or mishandled. Some blame Eddie Hearn, believing that the matchmaking strategy has been too cautious. Others point to the politics of boxing, promotional divides, network conflicts, and risk management as the real reason Ennis hasn't been matched with elite names sooner. Either way, right? The end result is the same. Fans want proof. They want to see Ennis tested against someone who is young, dangerous, and has something real to offer in return. That's exactly why the Xander Zayas fight changes everything. Zayas isn't just another opponent. He gets busy. He represents completely different level of risk and reward. That man fights for Puerto Rico, you know what I'm saying? Young, hungry, already accomplished fighter, fighting for the PR. Zayas brings pride, pressure, and purpose into the ring. He's not coming in there to lay down for Ennis. You guys are going to see when Zayas gets in there with Jaron Ennis in New York, that whole damn, you're going to see. Xander Zayas is representing, man, for Puerto Rico, for Miguel Cotto, Felix Trinidad, for all them Puerto Rican fighters. Puerto Rico, they have a couple of fighters out there right now, but ain't nobody doing it right now like Xander Zayas. You know what I'm saying? And trust me, he's not going to show up there to get a participation trophy. He's not going to show up there just to compete. Nah, he's going to show up to take over. He's not intimidated by the moment, and he's not coming to be part of the Jaron Ennis highlight reel. He's coming in to disrupt everything. And if Jaron Ennis comes in there, man, just underestimating the Puerto Rican power, the Puerto Rican heart, he going to learn the hard way. Because the one thing about Ennis, the only thing I have to say about Ennis, that an observation that I don't really like, he tends to want to entertain the crowd too much. Can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You need to come in there, stay locked in, stay focused, do the business. Because Jaron Boots Ennis is right there in Philly. Xander Zayas, you know, he's a Puerto Rican background. So the whole of New York and all them Puerto Ricans going to be there. People going to fly into the fight. But Jaron can't get caught up in all the bull crap. If so, I'm telling you, y'all probably going to be shocked to see Jaron Ennis kid end up being down on some points. But the bottom line, that's what makes the fight so interesting. Because Jaron against Xander Zayas removes a safety net. That's how I say it. It removes a safety net that critics believes that Ennis has had up to this point. And there are some that believe Xander Zayas has had that up to this point. Now remember, I don't necessarily agree with that shit, but it is what it is. I'm just looking at it stylistically. This is also a fascinating matchup. Ennis is known for his versatility, his ability to switch stances, control distance, break opponents down, power, precision. Jaron can do, we've seen him do it all against the opponents he's faced. He fights with a calm intensity, almost like he's solving a puzzle in real time. Then Zayas, on the other hand, brings a different kind of energy. He's aggressive, emotionally charged, and carries a kind of momentum that comes from believing this is your moment to shock the world. When you put those two styles together, you get a fight that's not just about skill, but about composure versus hunger, patience versus urgency. And then there's the bigger picture, the 154-pound division. This fight isn't happening in a vacuum, folks. It sits right in the middle of a division that's beginning to open up in a major, major, major way. Just look at who you got out there, man. You got damn Josh Kelly. You got Fundora. You still have Virgil Ortiz. You got Keith Thurman, Tim Tszyu. You got damn Earl Spence back. You got Brandon Adams, Rashidi Ellis, Isaac Lucero, Abbas Peru, Nikita Tszyu. I mean, you got even Jermell Charlo still in the mix, you know, and Tony Harrison. There's a lot going on in the 154-pound division. But I'm gonna say this: when you start having titles in play and multiple fighters positioning themselves for a run at undisputed, shit, I'll tell you this: both Ennis and Zayas understand what's at stake. They're not the top dogs at 154. That's still up for grabs. But they are two of the top fighters. But the 154-pound division is stacked. And a win here, it doesn't just move you forward. It launches you into a completely different tier of the sport. It puts you in conversation with champions, super fights, legacy-defining opportunities, and even in a conversation with Hall of Famers. Because a fight like this is something that gets you a step closer to the Hall of Fame. Now for Ennis, it's a chance to silence every critic and prove that he's exactly who people thought he was. For Zayas, it's a chance to leapfrog the entire division and establish himself as a superstar overnight. There's also a cultural element that can't be ignored. Zayas representing Puerto Rico adds another layer of intensity to the fight. Puerto Rican fighters have a long history of showing up in big moments and delivering unforgettable performances. That pride, that expectation, it travels with him into the ring. Meanwhile, Ennis carries the expectations of being one of America's next great boxing stars. When two of those forces collide, in a city like New York, the atmosphere alone becomes electric. They're going to go crazy out there. So in my opinion, this fight, which I believe is a done deal, they're just waiting to announce it. You know, when Eddie Hearn starts talking, you know what I'm saying? He can't hold water. Eddie Hearn has already basically told us that the fight's a done deal without telling us it's a done deal. But I'll just say this. Let's just pretend, right, that we know it's not a done deal. If finalized, when it comes to Ennis and Zayas, the fight has the potential to completely shift how fans view Hearn's handling of Jaron Ennis. Because up until now, even I've been like, I've been loudly criticizing Eddie Hearn, questioning why Ennis hasn't been pushed into bigger fights sooner, why he hasn't been as active. Because to me, Ennis should be fighting 3-4 times a year. That's just me. But at minimum, 3. But we get it. Politics of boxing. The bull crap with Virgil Ortiz, Oscar De La Hoya, Turkey Al-Sheikh. I understand what's going on. Boxing, politics, bull crap, which always seems to derail the big fights. But it is what it is. But I think it's really about timing. Because although the Ortiz fight fell out, look what fell into Jaron Boots in his lap. An opportunity, 2 belts, 1 fight. You know what I'm saying? You heard the saying, kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Jaron Boots Ennis, you get 2 belts for 1 fight. I mean, talk about maximizing your reward, but he's got to win. And if Ennis beats Zayas in impressive fashion, suddenly the narrative flips. Hearn goes from being criticized to being credited for setting up a defining moment at the right time. And you know Hearn gonna pat himself on the back and shit. Eddie Hearn ain't nothing but a self-licking lollipop. He can't wait to give himself credit. But if Ennis struggles, or worse, loses, oh Lord have mercy, that criticism becomes even louder. Because fans will feel like he was either moved too late, or not active enough, or not prepared properly for this level of competition, and they're going to blame Eddie Hearn, and I'm going to blame him too, I ain't lying. I'm ready to blame him right now and shit. That's just how miserable my ass is. But that's what makes the fight so important, man. There's no neutral outcome here. Somebody's stock is going to skyrocket, and somebody's momentum is going to take a hit. At the end of the day, this is the kind of fight boxing needs, and they need more of it. 2 young fighters, both with something to prove, both with real stakes, and both with a path towards greatness right in front of them. It's not a safe fight. It's not a tune-up. Like, really? This is a statement fight for Zayas and Boots. And for Jaron Ennis in particular. Because all the eyes are on Ennis. Let's be real. Xander Zayas, as diehard boxing fans, we all rock with Xander Zayas. But the whole world, casuals included, they're looking at Jaron Ennis. And this might be that moment where everything finally clicks for Boots. The moment where hype turns into proof, where criticism turns into respect, and where potential turns into reality. But I'm just telling you right now, there's a damn Puerto Rican lion standing across from him. Goes by the name Xander Zayas. Who believes this moment belongs to him, you know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. So, that's why this fight matters. That's why fans are locked in, and that's why June 6th can end up being a defining night for the future of the 154-pound division. Who you got winning? Leave it in the comments. In the breeze.